tell us the story behind the song called How Do I Breathe?
It was right at the Peace of Mind. You know what I'm saying? I did it earlier, but I had to rewrite it because I was talking to a guy, a record exec at the time, and he was like telling me like, I need to make it more personable. I need to make it more about me, because at one point when I made How Do I Breathe, it was about other people and it wasn't about my experience. It wasn't about who I was. So my life took a drastic turn and I started going through things. I started going through real life situations, and at that time, this was right after Peace of Mind. I mean, I have nobody. I felt like completely alone at this time. I got nobody in my life. The only person I got is me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm already trying to pick the pieces up. Being homeless, having depression, battling anxiety, going through all the stuff and the trauma that I went through with my own family and things like that. And it really took a toll on me to the point where I was like really about to give up and break down. The only way I knew, as I stated before, the only way I knew how to verbalize how I felt and the things that I was going through was through my music. Music was the way and the outlet to allow me to express myself, because I was never verbal. I was too afraid to talk about everything that was going on inside me. So the only way that I knew that I could get these things that were going on inside me out was I had to write it out through music. It was my safe haven. It was my outlet. It was the way to help me cope with all the depression and anxiety and all the trauma that I was dealing with. And I wrote that song because I was in such a dark place. I had nobody. I felt like I was a loner. I felt like nobody cared about me at the time. And the only way that I knew that I can get through it was go to God. Even as a kid, as a 12-year-old, when I got saved, I would go to God. You know what I'm saying? Every time that something bad would happen, I'd go to God. Every time life hit me, and even when life was good, I would go to God. You know, I shied away from it when I was in my 20s, when I realized things was getting too bad for me. And then I eventually finally had my spiritual awakening again in my 30s. My last year, 2 years ago, is when I had my spiritual awakening, when I'm really back into getting back closer to God, getting closer to my ancestors, talking about the spirits and stuff like that. And it allowed me to start digging deep and to actually start working on those childhood traumas and the things that I went through in my life. It allowed me to start facing my demons and start looking at my shadows, so that nobody can take my power from me. Nobody can hurt me no more. Because I would own my shit. You know what I'm saying? I would own what happened to me, and I wouldn't allow these people to make me feel any kind of way anymore. And that's when I started to build self-esteem and self-confidence and self-worth in myself. And I started to build myself up. And I knew that even though this song happened around when I was 23, I knew that somebody was going through the same thing I was going through. And I always said, you know what? I know this song gonna be a hit one day. And when it does be a hit, somebody who's going through the same thing I went through, feeling alone, having depression, not knowing who they are. I was going through a crisis at 22, 23, because all my identity was built around what my family told me I was. My identity was built around who I thought I was, and I didn't even know who I was at 23. You know what I'm saying? I had anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem, and I was really going through it, and I had nobody to help me. And the only way that I can get through it was through the music. Through my ability to have strength and to build inner strength. It's like when you break yourself down and you got to rebuild yourself back up. I did that over and over again until I was so mentally tough in here, and then I knew myself internally that nobody can make me feel small again. Nobody can make me feel like whatever I went through, they couldn't make me feel like a victim. And I wanted to make sure that whatever I went through in life, that I would be able to get through it, and I would be able to be an inspiration and a hope to others. So when I wrote that song, even though it happened 10 years ago, and even though it's not relevant to my situation right now, there's somebody out there that need to hear it. There's somebody out there that's going through depression that might want to delete themselves. There's somebody out there who really is suffering and trying to make a way with their life, struggling financially, struggling, people not caring about it, family members just shitting on them, everything like that. And the only way they can keep going is going to God. The same way I kept going to God. And this is how I made How Do I Breathe, and hopefully it can inspire you.